President Trump right to say that China controls the Panama Canal? He repeats this claim all the time. Why does he say this? The Panama Canal was transferred from U.S. control to the Panama Canal Authority in 1999, following the Torrijos-Carter Treaties signed in 1977. This treaty ended the United States' long-standing lease and control, and confirmed Panama's full sovereignty over the canal. The United States did not simply lease the Panama Canal, but rather acquired and controlled it through a series of complex diplomatic and political maneuvers in the early 20th century. In 1903, the United States effectively engineered Panama's independence from Colombia to secure canal rights. The U.S. initially attempted to negotiate a treaty with Colombia for canal rights, but Colombia rejected the proposal. Recognizing the opportunity presented by Panama's separatist movement, the U.S. decided to support Panamanian independence. Despite the Bidlack-Mallarino Treaty of 1846, which obligated the U.S. to intervene on Colombia's behalf in case of disorder, the U.S. prevented Colombian forces from crossing the isthmus to quell the Panamanian uprising. U.S. warships were dispatched to Panama City and Colón to support the independence movement. On November 3, 1903, Panama declared independence from Colombia. The U.S. immediately recognized Panama's independence on November 6, 1903, just 3 days after the declaration. In exchange for U.S. support, Panama signed the Geopolitical Treaty on November 18, 1903, granting the U.S. sovereign rights over the canal zone. The treaty also included a $10 million payment to Panama and an annual annuity of $250,000, along with a U.S. guarantee of Panama's independence. This series of events allowed the United States to secure control over the canal zone and begin construction of the Panama Canal, which was completed in 1914. The U.S. saw the canal as a strategic asset for maritime trade and naval power, and the U.S. wanted to protect its business ventures and economic interests in the region, particularly the Panama Railway system. Control over the canal would provide the U.S. with significant influence in Latin America. The Geopolitical Treaty granted the U.S. a 10-mile-wide strip of land for the canal, accompanied by a $10 million payment and an annual annuity of $250,000. This treaty provided the U.S. with permanent rights to the canal zone, not merely a lease. So, the U.S. controlled the canal from its completion in 1914 until 1999. In 1977, the Torrijos-Carter Treaties were negotiated, which outlined the eventual transfer of canal control to Panama. More specifically, the Permanent Neutrality Treaty gives the U.S. the right to ensure the canal remains open and secure, and the Panama Canal Treaty mandated that the U.S. turn over complete control to Panama on December 31, 1999. President Trump now claims that Panama has violated the original agreements about the Panama Canal for several reasons. First, he alleges that Panama has mismanaged the canal and allowed undue influence by China. Second, Trump accuses Panama of overcharging U.S. ships, including Navy vessels, for passage through the canal. Third, he claims that the "purpose of our deal and the spirit of our treaty has been totally violated" by Panama. Fourth, Trump asserts that U.S. ships are being severely overcharged and not treated fairly in any way, shape or form. Fifth, he suggests that China is operating the Panama Canal, which he views as a breach of the original agreement. Panama strongly denies these allegations. President José Raúl Mulino has stated that Panama has administered the canal responsibly for world trade, including U.S. interests. Panama also insists that it treats all vessels fairly and denies that China has any control over the canal's administration. Trump mentions China in the context of the Panama Canal for several reasons. First, he falsely claims that China is operating the Panama Canal. In his inaugural speech, Trump stated, "China is operating the Panama Canal, and we did not transfer it to China. We handed it over to Panama, and we are reclaiming it." Second, Trump's assertions highlight concerns among some U.S. officials about China's significant investments in the canal and its surrounding infrastructure. This reflects broader worries about China's growing influence in the region. Third, in 2017, Panama cut ties with Taiwan and established diplomatic relations with China, leading to increased Chinese investment in the country. This shift has raised concerns about China's potential influence over the strategically important waterway. Fourth, former U.S. Southern Command Commander Laura Richardson expressed concerns about China's rising influence in the canal in March 2024, indicating that Trump's statements align with some military officials' perspectives. Sixth, Trump's focus on China and the Panama Canal appears to be part of a larger geopolitical narrative about U.S. China rivalry in the Western Hemisphere. It's important to note that Panamanian officials, including President José Raúl Mulino, have strongly denied these claims, stating that there is no Chinese interference in the canal's operations. The Panama Canal Authority, a Panamanian government entity, oversees the canal's management, not Chinese military personnel. So, what is China's involvement in Panama? China's involvement in the Panama Canal is primarily economic and commercial, rather than operational or managerial. While China does not control or operate the canal itself, it has a significant economic presence in the area. China is the second largest user of the Panama Canal, representing 21.4% of cargo volume as of October 2023. A subsidiary of Hong Kong-based C.K. Hutchison Holdings manages two ports near the canal's entrances, Balboa on the Pacific coast and Cristobal on the Atlantic coast. Chinese firms have invested billions in Panama, including projects such as a cruise ship terminal and a planned bridge over the canal. While China's involvement is primarily economic, the U.S. is not happy about such involvement. For example, the ports managed by C.K. Hutchison can provide access to strategic information about ships traversing the canal. Panama joined China's Global Infrastructure Program in 2018, becoming a key link in Beijing's ambitious project. Panama established diplomatic relations with China in 2017, severing ties with Taiwan, and Taiwan, of course, is a close ally of the United States. There have been approximately $2.5 billion in investments from China to Panama since 2005, marking the largest Chinese investment in Central America. The total stock of Chinese foreign direct investment, FDI, in Panama amounted to around $1.4 billion in 2023. Nearly 40 Chinese companies are present in Panama across various sectors, including mining, finance, logistics, and telecommunications. Half of these companies have opened distribution centers in the Colón-free zone under special regime law. It's important to note that despite these economic ties, the Panama Canal remains fully under Panamanian control. The Panamanian government, through the Panama Canal Authority, manages the canal's operations and sets transit fees for all ships, regardless of their country of origin. And there is no evidence whatsoever that the Chinese army runs the Panama Canal. Certainly, there are economic ties, but these do not equate to military control or operation of the canal itself. But Trump's recent claims and threats regarding the Panama Canal do have significant economic implications for U.S.-Panama relations. Trump's threats to retake control of the Panama Canal create uncertainty for businesses relying on this crucial maritime passage. This uncertainty could potentially disrupt trade flows and increase shipping costs. If Trump's demands for lower fees for U.S. ships are not met, it could lead to retaliatory measures, potentially resulting in even higher fees for U.S. vessels using the canal. The canal is a significant contributor to Panama's GDP, accounting for about 4% in 2024. Any disruption to its operation or changes in its management will have severe consequences for Panama's economy. Trump's threats could damage the economic relationship between the U.S. and Panama, potentially affecting other areas of trade and investment beyond the canal. If tensions escalate, it could lead to trade diversion, with some countries potentially seeking alternative routes or partners, to avoid complications associated with using the Panama Canal. Trump's statements could create uncertainty for both U.S. and international investors in Panama, potentially leading to a slowdown in foreign direct investment. Trump's claims about Chinese control of the canal, though unfounded, could lead to increased scrutiny of Chinese investments in Panama and the region, thus potentially affecting economic relations between Panama, the U.S., and China. These implications highlight the complex interplay between geopolitics and economics in the context of the Panama Canal, a critical piece of global trade infrastructure. Should Trump move to make his claims into a reality and try to take over the Panama Canal, he might find himself in a conflict that he may not be able to control. And let us not forget that America did invade Panama in 1989.